guys, it's Georgia from the Happy Hensters, and welcome back to the Henster Kitchen. Who's in the mood for making a pie today? Sweet potato pie, that is. Hang out with me and I'll show you how. This recipe is so easy, you all are gonna love it. It takes no time to put together. You can make it the day ahead and it is just as good. Top it with some fresh whipped cream. Oh, honey, is it good? So let's get to this. For this recipe, you can either use one large, and I mean this is a ginormous sweet potato, or two small. And we are just gonna cut this into some circles, put it in our saucepan. Let me trim off that end there. I'm gonna cover this with water, put it on the stove and let it boil for about 15 minutes or until my potatoes are nice and tender. Look at those gorgeous sweet potatoes. My water's just coming to a boil, so I am gonna put my lid on, turn my heat down so it'll just stay at a nice boil, but not boil over. And I'm gonna set a timer for 15 minutes and we'll check back in. This has been cooking about 20 minutes. And my potatoes are nice and tender. I'm gonna drain this real quick. Now that they're drained, I'm gonna give them just a minute to cool off enough that I can handle them. And then we are gonna take the skin right on off. Look at there. So all I do is I slip my fork in and break that skin and then just pull it right on around. Trying not to burn yourself. But you do still want your potatoes to be hot for the next ingredients that are gonna go in. If your potatoes have any of those little eyes on them, do remove those. You don't wanna leave that on your potato because we're gonna be mashing these. While your potatoes are still good and hot, you're gonna add 1 stick of butter. I know, there's no diet going on here. And just wait, it gets even better. And 3/4 of a cup of marshmallow cream. Oh, I cannot wait for y'all to try this. It is so good. Now I'm gonna put my lid on. And I'm gonna let this sit for maybe 5 minutes or so while the butter melts. So everybody is nice and melted. We're just gonna give everything a good mash. I'm using my trusty potato masher. If you don't have one, just grab a fork. That will work beautifully as well. To our concoction. I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour. This will be your thickener as the pie is baking. Roughly 1 teaspoon of vanilla. 2/3 of a cup of sugar, just your normal granulated sugar. And then, because you know it's not sweet enough yet, we're gonna add 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Now I just very lightly pack it in my measuring cup. Don't pack it firmly or you will end up with syrup in here. Brown sugar is very necessary. It adds a depth of flavor that you'll want. We're gonna do 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a pinch of salt, and let's combine all of this together. We're also gonna add 1/4 of a teaspoon of almond extract. Be very careful with your almond extract. It is a flavor that will completely overpower a dish and absolutely ruin it if you get too much in there. Now we're gonna be adding evaporated milk. Make sure it's evaporated, not condensed. And you want 1/2 can, roughly 5 ounces. You don't have to be terribly exact. Now, this is evaporated milk that was left over from a corn pudding that I made for dinner last night. So we're just gonna throw that in there. I'm also gonna trade out my masher for a whisk now. Add 3 eggs. Let's whisk this together until it's well combined. Isn't that a beautiful color? Now we're gonna pour this into an unbaked pie crust and pop it into a 350-degree oven for roughly 45 to 50 minutes. You want it to not have a jiggle in the center of it when you pull it out. It should be nice and firm. I've prepared my crust. Now mine is homemade, but if you prefer to do a store-bought, you go right ahead and do that. No shame. I'm gonna give this one last little stir and then into our pie crust. Try to not let it splash up and get on your crust edges, because as it bakes, it'll start making those areas real dark and it's just not as pretty. Thanks for hanging with me again today. Give this recipe a try. I promise you'll be glad you did. I love you all. See you in the next video.